Everyone, thank you all for joining us today. My name is Nancy Chen, and I'm the current chair of the ASN Diversity Committee. On behalf of the Tri-Society Diversity Committees, I'm very excited to welcome you all to Story Collider. We first had Story Collider at Evolution in 2019, and it was by far the most impactful conference event we've ever had. So we are so happy to have them return. Before we begin the show, I wanted to thank the 4 amazing storytellers we will be hearing from shortly. Thank you also to Gina Balcom and the many people who worked really hard to first bring Story Collider to Evolution 2 years ago, as well as SSE, SSV, and ASN for sponsoring this event again this year. So in addition to Story Collider, the Tri-Society DCs have organized a number of mixers and symposia, and I'd like to thank everyone on those committees, especially SSE Diversity Committee co-chair Kathy Rushworth, for all of the hard work they've put into making this conference successful. We are planning to have a Tri-Society DEI symposium at Evolution next year and potentially some other programming, and we hope that you will continue to participate in these events. We really want to hear your ideas for how to make our community more inclusive and equitable, so please do feel free to reach out to members of the 3 diversity committees at any point. Making a more inclusive society starts with forming community. To do so, we need to be talking to one another, sharing our stories, and cheering each other on, because stories matter. We hope you enjoy this event.
All right, thank you so much, Nancy. We are so excited to be here hosting this show. We'll intro ourselves really quick, then acquaint you with this bizarre platform you're all on. I'm Katie. I am one of your hosts tonight.
Oh, that's all we're gonna say. Hi, I'm Emma. I'm also one of your hosts tonight. I'm gonna be razzing Katie throughout the evening.
That's fine. Like, what would you like me to? Why don't you tell them what they should know about me?
Oh no. Katie is a very funny, sarcastic person who gives me a lot of life. You will enjoy the many polls tonight. The ones that will make you laugh were written by her. I think that's what people to know.
Okay, well, the boring, like, day job stuff about me, I'm a staff writer at The Atlantic, but I'm also a Story Collider producer. Emma?
I am a biologist at the Fish and Wildlife Service, and I'm a grad student trying to finish my PhD in biology, and I am also a Story Collider producer. So we are the people of many hats.
And, what we have in common is Story Collider, which hopefully you sort of kind of started to figure out by now. We are a storytelling organization. We are here to bring you some true personal stories from 4 amazing storytellers tonight. They all have something to do with science, but the ways in which they intersect with science will be very, very, very different. As you can probably tell, we are virtual tonight, as many of the things you've been doing this week are. And so we are 2-dimensional. This is a very weird room that we're in, but we want to try and get you guys at home feeling at home as possible, which is what I intend to say when my words do not fail me. Many of you have already found this lovely chat function on the side of the screen. So we as hosts unfortunately cannot hear or see or smell you, which I am really regretting right now.
Fortunate that last part is, but yeah, whatever floats your boat, Katie.
And we've got a bunch of little buttons at the bottom of the screen here so that we can interact with you as much as we can. We're going to be putting up some polls. There's already one up there if you haven't answered it already about your previous experience with Story Collider. There's a ton of you here, and that is incredibly exciting. But let's just talk really quickly about what to expect tonight. What is going to happen when we start sharing these stories, Emma? What can people expect from our show structure and what they're going to hear?
So it's going to be, you're going to laugh, you might cry. It's okay to feel a spectrum of emotions, but we are going to have 4 different stories tonight, and they're going to range really widely between happy, sad, funny, etc., ridiculous. There's always some ridiculousness, which is my favorite. And we are going to be kind of checking in throughout the night with the polls and the chat to be able to see what you guys are up to and what you guys are thinking. So there will be a little interactive component. So yeah.
The show is also going to end in a lovely Q&A session, which you, of course, don't have to stick around for. I mean, really, you don't even have to stick around for this, though I hope you do. The wonderful thing about the Q&A is as questions come to you for our storytellers, please just drop them in this little Ask a Question bin at the bottom of your screen, which is to the left of this poll button. Just click that lovely red, orange colored button and ask your question. We would love to hear from you. Emma and I will moderate the Q&A at the end. It's another great way to be engaged with our storytellers tonight. As Emma said, our stories are really going to run the gamut tonight. Some topics will be a little more sensitive than others. We just want to give fair warning of that. But I think that is part of the power of storytelling. If you at any point as someone in the audience want to step away from the show for a little bit, we fully endorse that. We want you to feel every aspect of the show. We want it to inspire you. We want it to make you feel more connected with people on and off stage. So we are incredibly excited about that. What am I forgetting, Emma?
That we're super excited to be at the Evolution 2021 conference. As Nancy already said, this is a joint meeting, as you guys know, of ASN, SSE, and SSB. And we're just super thrilled to be involved. I myself am a reluctant community ecologist with evolutionary sort of leanings in my work. So I'm just super jazzed to be here, having a little nerd out.
Speaking of super nerdy stuff, I'm kind of excited to get our next poll up here.
Yes. Oh.
And you may notice that there is a little red 1 next to the poll function down there. Click on it and please answer this question. I want to hear what you got to say. Our question for you is, if you could choose any reproductive strategy, what would it be? Binary fission, parthenogenesis, I don't care as long as I get to lay eggs, or I'll stick with good old sex, thanks. I don't know. What's it going to be? I feel like there's a couple options pulling ahead here, and I feel like this is very telling of our audience. Nobody really wants to clone themselves, and I don't know. Well, okay, I guess arguably our top 2 options are, clonal enough, but nobody's really into the binary fission. Anyway.
As an ornithologist, I want to lay eggs, but I respect everyone else's choices. I also see from our first chat that a ton of folks here are first timers. So welcome. We're super excited for you guys to be here. And we're also really excited for all the folks who've joined us before. So great mix of folks in the audience tonight.
Absolutely. Let's get our first storyteller up here, because I want to hear her thoughts on this beautiful poll that is still just chugging along here.
Good to hear Linda's thoughts. So before we introduce our first storyteller, I just want to sort of cast out a request to you guys to try to be present in the moment with us throughout the stories tonight. I know you've probably got a lot going on at home. You got kids, pets, might have another monitor open where you're trying to do a little work on the side, prep your talk. But we encourage you to kind of, just try to focus on just the stories if you can, so you can kind of dig better into the connection that we're trying to cultivate with y'all tonight. And with that, I would like to introduce our first storyteller of the night. Very excited. Her name is Linda Sue Lassiter. She's a PhD student at Northern Arizona University, and she's studying paleontology there. She is a former naval officer and software engineer doing retirement the right way. She studies early Paleozoic fossils, but she loves fossils of all varieties. And fun fact, she's been to the North Pole. Please welcome Linda to the stage. Hi, Linda.
Hi. How is everybody?
Doing good. Doing real good. So, Linda, tell us what your chosen reproductive strategy would be.
Well, I kept trying to look for all of the above. They're all terrific reproductive mechanisms, but all of the above. We're all scientists here.
That's a very good answer, Linda.
Yeah, very diplomatic answer. I mean, it's also arguably the most successful answer. You will never go without a mate, or you need a mate. I love the flexibility here.
Still Team Eggs, but it's fine. All right, Linda, are you ready to share your story with us?
I am ready, and I have another monitor up there. That's why I look up there. But when I'm telling my story, I don't want to see myself. So.
That is very fair and a very common occurrence, believe it or not. Nobody wants to look at their own face. So, all right. Well, we will just be listening with delight and rapture.
Okay, thank you. It was a year ago, 2020, when I saw this text and a whole bunch of flurry of emails from Zeke. He was a student in one of my paleontology classes, and he was really excited because he thought he might have found some fossil tracks outside his family ranch. Fossils or not, this was a much needed reprieve from the last 4 months of stay at home and hide, as I was trying to avoid COVID because it was killing people like me, you know, my age, retirement age. This planet sweeping pandemic totally changed my priorities. My number one priority was to survive. That's it, survive. And the university was saying, you're going to have to teach in person. I said, not me. No. You know, I was going to turn down the assistantship just to stay safe. But, you know, it costs a lot of money to go to work on your PhD. And my husband had just lost his job because of COVID too. So I couldn't do field work, right? Couldn't leave the state. The museums were closed. I couldn't go see my grandkids in Kansas, and their parents too, of course. But this sounded like a really good excuse to get out of the house. I grabbed my nature-loving husband, and I was going to support Zeke in his enthusiasm for paleontology. So as we were bouncing over these rough cobbled water, you know, washboard back roads and getting our masks ready and going through security gates and down these steep hills and mesquite, really scrubby looking mesquite. Then all of a sudden there was pasture and cattle and horses and lots of buildings. And then I saw Zeke, and he had this big grin on his face. And it really helped me to forget about that monster risk and unpredictability stuff I was worrying about earlier. I opened up the car door and welcomed that oven blast of heat from central Arizona. And Zeke says, let's take the mule. Mule? Well, thankfully it was an off-road utility vehicle, you know, like a golf cart on steroids. So I called shotgun, and my husband clambered in the back in the cargo bin, and off we went, and windy, dusty, and up more hills, and across a rickety bridge, and over a deep ravine, and down the other side. And then I finally got to the site. Zeke went running off, the young whippersnapper, and you know, I was just trying to soak in, look at the environment. Cliffs, and the rocks had no vegetation, and there were no clouds in the sky. The rocks looked like somebody had stacked up vanilla ice cream in scoops, and it was, of course, melting down towards the river because it was wicked hot. Well, then I thought, okay, science brain, let's look at the rocks. So I looked down and I saw one, a track, okay, a footprint. And it had, it was about 10 centimeters wide, longer than wide, 2 pads, didactyl, like a deer or an elk. Bummer. Is this just a living animal? But then I thought, how would they get here? I mean, I just went through a lot to get here. I don't know. Okay, look at the rock. Look at the rock. Okay, fine crystals. Oh, there's some tiny mafic crystals in there. So this is pyroclastic volcanic rock. Right. I never look for fossils in volcanic rock. You know, volcanoes spew out stuff that's 1200 degrees Celsius. You don't look for living or dead things in volcanic rock. So I started thinking, well, where's the closest volcano? Oh, 6 miles, 10 kilometers east of here. And it was active 10 to 15 million years ago. Whoa, could this be Miocene age? So what would this track be? I helped with some glyptodons, those Volkswagen-sized armadillos, in a dig about 100 miles from here. But locally, there were camels roamed this part of Arizona. Oh, they're called camelids. And since it's an ichthyofossil, it's actually got its own ichnogenus and whatever. By then, I heard everybody yelling, here's one, here's one. Oh, look at this one. And I was in kid mode. It's a treasure hunt. That's why paleontology is so much fun. And I was running around with everybody, and I kind of forgot about how hot it was for a bit. But then everybody kind of disappeared, and Zeke said, you got to see this other one. So I took the last draft from my big hydration pack. The water was already hot, but I looked at this track and I thought, no, this isn't a camelid. It's got a big pad, and it's about the size of my palm, and it's got 4 littler pads. And what could that be? A sloth? No. A dog. Too big. A cat. Yeah, there are cougars in the Grand Canyon. This could be a carnivore. Kid imagination is now engaged as I could see this giant cat slowly stalking the unwary camelids as they were crunching through the volcanic crust, trying to get to water, and beep, 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 up. That was the last of my camera batteries. Everything's overheated. It's a clue, Linda. It's time to go. In the air-conditioned comfort of the car on the way back, I started trying to figure out how I was going to get permission through a National Forest Service to go do these tracks in a pandemic. And then I thought, oh, my advisor's not going to like me taking on another project. You know what I mean? And then the anxiety kind of came back because I had to deal with school and all that stuff. But I quickly got some permission requests in. And before you knew it, a month had passed. I was online, and the rains had started, the monsoon rains. And I thought, ooh, what would rains do to those tracks? Maybe we should get back down there because we still didn't have permission. Zeke and I got to the site, and oh no, all the trackways were underwater, pretty rapidly flowing water too. And we started kind of running around, not with that old enthusiasm, but with panic. Now, where were these tracks? And we were looking, we were looking in the water, and we couldn't find them. And it dawned on me, all those tracks we had seen in July were gone. They were gone. Now I wasn't panicked. I just had this horrible feeling of helplessness. I don't know, I thought I was going to cry. So I sat down and tipped my big desert hat down so Zeke couldn't see that I was fighting back these tears. And I thought, Linda, you're a failure. You're a failure as a mentor. You're a failure as a paleontologist. The pain was so deep. Waiting for that permit was like waiting for the vaccine. Nothing seemed predictable or right anymore. And now I lost this amazing find. Waiting, it just hurt. It just hurt. And I thought, I just want to go dig out every single fossil I can find right now. I'm not going to wait for a permit. I'm just going to do it. No, I can't. I can't give up. I'm just going to help Zeke to do this the right way, or I'm not going to do it at all. Lead by example, follow the rules, called the Forest Service. We got back out. Well, they gave us a permit in September, but you know what happened in September? The campus was filled with COVID. Yeah, and not only that, the ranch was too. Zeke's family had COVID. The ranch was in quarantine. What good is permission if you can't safely get to the site? That precious geologic moment, frozen in time and preserved for millions of years, exposed for just a little bit of time, washed away and was gone. But what wasn't gone? was that pain of the loss and the anger and the frustration at all the obstacles that got thrown into my life and mixed in with a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda, you know that. And then also, I got to admit, I'm a little bit worried about how people are going to react to me after hearing my story. But, now I just need a little bit of courage. I need to be brave like those camelids were as they passed an active volcano and seeking safety or water. This old gal is still kicking. I'm not a fossil yet. So I have my vaccination. Virus or not, there's work to be done.
Oh, Linda, gosh, every time I hear this story, I feel like I am just transported into that chapter of your life. I love it.
Zeke is very lucky to have you setting an example for him too. So, yeah.
Thank you.
For
It still hurts.
Yeah.
I like to get offers of people to come help me with the fossils. Thank you.
Well, you've got some fans in the chat. I imagine and people will be willing to walk to Arizona to help you. Give us a shout out if you would like to come help Linda do some digging.
Yeah, you want to do some fossil hunting in Arizona?
If you all have any questions for Linda, you can go ahead and drop those in the Ask a Question box, and Linda will be back at the end of the show to do our Q&A with us. So thank you so much, Linda.
All right, see ya.
See you later.
I'm going to check real quick on this poll, and it seems like boring old sexual reproduction has won, but it's
Ooh. Where are the egg people at?
I mean, look, there are eggs inside all of us. We just don't get to lay them as eggs.
Yeah, and that's exactly the problem, Kate. We can talk about this later. I don't want to get emotional on screen.
I hear you. I understand you. I see you.
Thank you.
I
think in terms of seeing me a little more, we have another question in the poll, or another poll question, I should say. How many houseplants have you acquired in the last year and a half?
I feel like you wrote this question to personally attack me because, that I can't keep plants alive. I barely keep myself alive. Okay, now you're just throwing it in my face.
Yeah, it's my rubber plant. We're friends.
Oh, I see.
No, it's not made of rubber. It's a rubber plant. It's a real living plant.
Sure. That's what I tell everybody too. That's fine. Yep.
All right, should we move on from this? Wounding?
Yeah, whatever. It's fine.
All right.
You can have your eggs and your plants, whatever. We do have I don't want to forget about this lovely 10-word story prompt that we got in our chat earlier. So real quick, if you have not yet shared your 10-word story about a time you did something maladaptive, we do want to hear about it. I'm going to read a couple of the ones we've gotten so far to inspire you. Ambika shared that time I noticed I was eating raw chicken and inexplicably kept eating. That is not the best.
We should probably bring them up to our Q&A at the end because frankly I have a lot of questions. I just I mean, I don't know. I'm really trying to fathom that one because
raw chicken is crunchy and it freaks me out. And I just
know it's crunchy. Have you eaten raw chicken?
Have you never bitten into raw chicken that was not properly cooked? And the next step is you spit it out and you stop eating it.
Listen, Katie, I learned a lot about you just now. All right, I got another story here. 10-word story. Online dating. That is many less than 10 words, but I really relate to that. So sending love and light to whoever story that belongs to.
Look, each of those words was so loaded, it was 5 words. So I feel like the assignment was accomplished here.
100%.
I'm into it. All right. Let's bring our next storyteller on stage.
Yes.
So our next storyteller is a postdoc at Cornell, where she studies the microbiome of ants, two incredibly cool topics. She's from Brazil. She's a mom. She's an advocate for a more diverse and inclusive scientific community, which I am all for. And to that end, she even helped create a Women Deciphering Science Coalition for Science Communication. Please welcome to the stage Manu Chamalho. And I'm awful at pronouncing your last name, Manu.
No, you did it great.
Wait, can I do it? I practiced it.
Okay.
Chamalho. Did I get it?
I like barely heard that. So
Sorry, I didn't heard. Could you say it again, Emma?
10 points from
Chamalho.
Ravenclaw.
Yeah, great. Whisper, Camalio.
I practiced really a lot. So I got to have my moment in the sun. All right. Hello, Manu. Welcome back to the chaos that is me and Katie.
Will you tell us about your houseplants? Do you have any? Do you like kill all plants? What's your deal?
So my deal, since like I always was very into plants, I was not very good at keeping them. But in the pandemic, I start to get crazy. I have so many plants now in my house. My husband, Marcelo, is not happy with that. Every time that we go for a grocery and I saw a different plant, I want to buy it. I'm totally addicted now.
I love that. That's
Very
beautiful.
relatable.
Do you have any idea like what your count is at right now today?
What is my count for plant? It's more than 10, for sure. Yeah. And being Brazilian, like once that you plant your plant, they will be forever. And so for me here, it is interesting to know that some plants will die and the other will continue. And it's a kind of like surprising that next year when your plant, you didn't put anything in that vase and then the plant's coming back and I was like, oh, it is a treasure.
It is a treasure. You're right. God
Yeah,
bless us.
It is always a problem with plants. I'm learning that.
Plants or ants, if you could only choose one.
Oh no, ants for sure.
You're talking to a woman with ants all over her shirt.
Yeah, and all my house. Yeah, I think so. The huge question for me is now if I have more sculptures with ants or plants in my house, and the answer will be more than 10 for both.
Oh my God.
Sounds fun.
You have a whole ecosystem going. I love it. All right. Well, we're going to pop out of your hair and disappear into our tiny corner.
Okay, should I go? In the morning after celebrating finish my PhD in Brazil, I was in university bathroom. On the pharmacy pregnancy test, a positive appeared. I was in shock. What is the chance to getting pregnant in the first try? Well, enough. In my head, I thought, will this the best time to become a mom? I was literally shaking that positive will signify the end of my career. And I just have received an offer to continue my career doing my postdoc, working with one of the best scientists in my field, and continue doing what I love, microbiome and ants. And we need to move to USA for do that. And I was totally fine with that. Was my dream job, like the perfect next step for my career, which has just started. However, with that positive appear, will my job, like my dream job, still available? I really didn't know. So I always wanted to be a mom. And I even have my mom who always work and as a model who always work and keep her job and take care of my sister and myself. So I really never believed that I need to give up or anything. I really believe that I can do both. I just need to be a good planner. So before telling the news for our family, I quickly asked for a meeting for my potential new supervisor for my postdoc. And I was really scared to talk with her. In my head, I thought, will she see this pregnancy with something that separates me from my dream job? I really hope that was not. So I opened my computer, my laptop. I log in my meeting, and I was shaking. I started to telling my story with her, and I couldn't hold my tears back. But as I spoke, her face lighted up. She was happy. She even interrupted my previously prepared speech to congratulations me. To my surprise and happiness, Corey, another woman in size, she reminds me that I have an option to choose what was the best for my family, and she will support my decision. And she even offered to hold the position for postdoc for over a year for me. So I was really relieved. And with that, my husband, Marcelo, and I, we decided to have our baby around our families and friends in Brazil. And then a few months later, Nicole, or in Portuguese, Nicole, known as Nikki, arrived to this world happy and healthy, a woman inside of women in science, my little aunt. And a few months later, we all moved to USA to start my dream job, my postdoc. My 4-month-old daughter, my husband, me, and our 4-legged daughter, a Brazilian wiener dog who does not like children or snow, and we live in upstate New York. Poor Cacao. So going back to work, for start my dream job, my postdoc, I was a mixture of feeling. I was excited for this part to come back to work, but I also was concerned to leave our daughter with my husband. So my first day, I was not very productive. And I was tasking Marcelo every 5 minutes. And if he need to take more than 2 minutes to answer me back, I was so stressed that I bite a nail. And I'm not sure if you know that, but if you try to take care of a baby and be available, a small baby, and be available in the answer message in your cell phone, are not two tasks that go easily together. So by the end of the day, I didn't have any more nails. So I can tell that in the beginning it was a little hard to learn how to be a full-time mom and also full-time scientist. But I was determined that I can do everything. And I don't want to fail. I didn't want to fail. And I'm a good planner, remember? So I have a good plan and I will stick with that. And I think overall we did well. Of course, with endless support for Marcelo, my husband, and also even with the new friends that we create a new village here where we live. So everything was doing well, but then pandemic hit us, and this time everything closed, including the door for our country, our family. And this time we were isolated here, my husband, my daughter, my dog, and me. So I'm organized. I'm very good planner. So I quickly organized a new routine, and I started to work at 6 a.m. before Nikki, now a toddler, wake up. And then between my husband and I and myself, in our 2 hours work shift, we have endless like working times, changing diapers, bottles, games, snacks, lunch. And I even can tell that Nikki start to realize the pandemic was also happening, because at some point she started to ask for put masks on her dolls. So it was a very sad moment for me, but at least she was doing the safest choice. So just keep going. So after the lunch, she got a long nap to go. So in that time, Marcelo and I, we worked like crazy. And sometimes I even forgot to have a lunch or just had a quick salad on front of computer. And around 3 p.m., she wake up again and we start everything again. More working time between changing diapers, bottles, games, snacks, dinner. And then after the dinner, a saga to relax a toddler started with books, bath, and bed. So working just 2-hour shifts, I didn't have much time to focus. And sometimes it was hard to develop a line of reasoning. So it was very often times where I need to work at 9 to finish tasks that I was unable to finish during the day. And with all that in just one day, I also we didn't have time to even think or process everything that was happening in the world. So we just keep going. And in the next day, repeat. And we keep repeating this for long weeks, months, and the entire year. So we are exhausted, we are scared, and we are isolated. So I also need to recognize that we have tremendous privilege to be able to live. I have a tremendous privilege to live in a small city in USA. And in general, I think we got along well. But little by little, I realized that I was not sleeping as I used to be before. And maybe it was not having time to process everything that was happening in the world, or like not time to relax or even have lunch. So little by little, these things start to affect me. And despite of the continuing making progress in my work, was never so hard to finish a task or finish writing a manuscript. So I felt so alone. I think overall, I also felt that I was failing to be a good mom and failing to be a good scientist. But my only option was keeping going. So 2021 arrived. And with this new year, I was also excited because it will be the year that vaccines will arrive. So my first day coming back to the lab in 2021, I was very excited. I put my gloves on, I made fresh reagents. I was like planning several weeks and ahead with like different fun experimental. Was the perfect day. Nikki also was able to come back to daycare. She was excited to see her friends again. And we kind of have a sense that maybe the words start to coming back for something similar that was before. But then, like, it was a perfect day. But then that night, I got a call from Nikki's teacher saying that Nikki's little friend's parents was diagnosed with COVID. Mm-hmm. And the school will need to close for another 14 days. That day, that night, after that call, I reached my peak of exhaustion. I was devastated. I was scared. So while my husband and I, we quickly tried to put alcohol in everything in the house, tried to follow the steps of the day. And we put even ethanol alcohol in Nikki for some, like, try to protect her for unreasonably. But while we are doing that, like, again, without time to process, I start to thinking like, I can't be 100% of anything. I'm not 100% a good mom, and I'm not 100% a good science, because often I'm not able to focus just to look at my results. And I'm also not good enough, or I'm not able to like focus and play with Nikki. And I'm not 100% a good friend or sister or daughter, when often I barely able to finish my text during the day. And I don't have time or even energy to check on everyone else. I was definitely nothing perfect. And I was not even feeling okay. Few days later, we test all the children, and thankfully they're all fine. No one got infected. But then a paper came out in February, and that showed me what I already knew. Mothers in academia, in science, are being more impacted than other scientists during this pandemic. And seeing through my computer screen that data in a published paper with all the statistics confirming how my year has been like, brought me a little of relief and also sadness. I was not the only one who was having trouble to keep everything up. But despite of being isolated, I was definitely not alone. And, you know, I'm a scientist, so data means a lot for me. And seeing that paper published was a very important moment for me. It was a validation moment from everything that I was feeling. But a few days later, I got and Corey sent an email for all of us in the lab. Like, it was a random email And she put a quote that actually changed my way to see the academic life. It's a better philosophy, a better way to see academia life. In this email, she put a quote like, progress, not perfection. With that quote, I weighted a lid off of my shoulders. And slowly, little by little, I got back to sleep better. So now, it's actually seems that the word start to come back for something that similar like was before. So my husband and I are fully vaccinated, and we're still waiting for Nikki's turn. And I often find myself looking at my daughter and thinking why she's playing, like how much she grows since everything happened. She's so big now. And she's still happy and healthy as the same way that she came to this world. And she already started collect ants for me for fun. So, but I really hope that she don't remember much about these past years. And I don't want to that she remember, because especially I don't want to that Nikki think that this isolation, pandemic, or even world behind the mask, it is something that it is how life should be. So, however, if she still remember, I really hope that she knows that her father and I, maybe we are not doing our best. We are not doing things perfectly, but at least we are doing our best. And I really, really hope that this was enough. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Manu. That was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share.
No, thank you so much for sharing that story with us. I can't imagine that Nikki is not so proud of you. I would be proud if you were my mom.
I'm proud of you, and you're not my mom, so
that you know of.
You're right.
I like what Tracy dropped in the chat a few minutes ago. Manu, you are 100% a good you.
Oh, I like that. I hope that this was enough.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Emma and Katie, who helped me like choose the best way to tell my story. And I really hope that reach at least other moms that was in the same situation than I.
It was a pleasure, Manu. If you have a question for Manu, you can drop her a question in the question box. All right. Thank you so much, Manu. We'll see you at the end of the show.
See you.
All right. Well, what's next here?
I don't know, I'm just buzzing from these stories. Everyone's wonderful.
I think we're up. Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry. I was just going to say, we are very hopped up on stories right now, and we have 2 left. And then this particular show is over. But if you in the audience are really vibing these Story Collider stories and you are hungry for more, we do these shows regularly. They are not always about evolution, though, like, I mean, what isn't about evolution? So, like, really, they are. Where else can folks find Story Collider stories if they are hungry for more?
Yeah, so folks are encouraged, welcome to check out our podcast. If you go to www.storycollider.org/podcasts, you can find out all the various platforms on which you can listen to some of the most awesome stories to grace our stage over the years. We have a huge back catalog, so if you're ready to just force feed yourself narratives, there is a lot.
Very aggressive.
Well, that's not, you know what I mean. I have listened to Story Collider. I've wept on the stair climber at the gym to Story Collider stories. There's a time and a place for everything, I guess.
Yeah. They're free, they're portable. You can access them by clicking that turquoise link at the bottom of your screen. And it's truly very exciting. All right, should we bring up our next poll here?
First, I have to say, it looks like we have a lot of murderers in our midst. There's a very large portion of people who kill things.
It's plant slaughter, okay? It's not necessarily intentional.
All you have to do is water it. It's not that hard. No, you know what?
It's not that simple. God.
Everyone,
Plant elitist.
everyone is welcome in this space, whether or not they're capable of keeping plants alive. All right, so we do have another poll up.
I'm really enjoying this. Which of the following questions would you least like to answer during a job interview? What is a gene? What is a species? Why didn't you get that grant? And can you draw the Krebs cycle from memory on this sheet of paper? Do you have an answer to this?
Yeah, yes. Well, first of all, I don't know how to do the Krebs cycle for memory. I know that I shouldn't do that, but I feel like I'd be like, oh, I just can't. And they would be like, okay, that's disappointing. However, if we had to get into the nitty gritty of what a species is, like, I think probably everyone at this conference has had this conversation before, and you always come out the other end worse off. Like, it's not going to take you to a positive place. No. I mean, the first time I ever had this, not the first time, but the biggest conversation we ever had about this was in my community ecology class. And I walked out of that class going, I am never going to be a community ecologist. That's what I am now. So, you know, I just have bad memories. That's all.
I think you just have a bad history of tempting fate.
That's
but let's find out what our next storyteller thinks of this.
Yes, please.
Poll that is just Krebs cycle is destroying everything.
All right. So our next storyteller is a Fulbright scholar and graduate student in the Ecology, Evolution, and Behavior program at Binghamton University. And she was born and raised in Egypt. Please welcome to the stage, Hagar Soliman.
I like how someone originally selected why didn't you get that grant and unvoted for it just now.
So what is it going to be for you, Hagar? Which one of these would you least want to answer at a job interview?
Oh, definitely the species question. I think we spend like an entire class just fighting over what a species is. It's crazy.
Well, now you all know Hagar is a graduate student and will be applying for jobs at some point. So if she applies for a job and interviews with you, you can ask her that to test her limits. So, all right, Hagar, are you ready to share your story with us? Because we are ready to listen.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, well, we will shrink down into our little corners here. Take it away.
All right. Okay. It was the summer of 2015. I was sitting in the living room in front of my computer, refreshing the website where the results for the last year of high school is going to be released on. I wasn't nervous or anything like that. I made myself a cup of tea and I was listening to music, just chilling in the living room. My mom, on the other hand, she was extremely anxious. And the reason for that is this grade is not going to only decide which universities I can apply to in Egypt, but also which field of study I'm going to specialize in my undergraduate years. And in Egypt, medical school is the pinnacle of success. And to get there, you need a perfect score. And every parent will push their kids' limit to get that perfect score and get to medical school. My parents were not any different, specifically my mom. I refreshed the website page one more time, and here it was. I got 94%. And I was actually happy about that grade, and I thought it's a good representation of the amount of work that I put in. My mom was absolutely devastated. This grade meant that I won't be able to apply to medical school or any school related to human health, like dental school, for example. And within moments, the happiness that I had for my grade transferred into self-contempt because I disappointed my mom. So what was the next best option? It was the College of Science. And honestly, I wasn't mad about this idea. I remember when I was a kid, I loved science and biology classes, and I would get excited over seeing some onion cells under a light microscope. So why not? My mom, again, was not thrilled at all. The reason is because in Egypt, the College of Science is notoriously known for being extremely difficult. So difficult that some people will spend like 6 or 8 years to get a bachelor's degree, and you can absolutely fail a couple of courses every semester and it will be normal. I told her I would do my absolute best to graduate in 4 years, and let's see what we can do about that. But I was terrified. I was terrified of the idea of failing, and most importantly, I was terrified of my mom. On the first day of school, she looked at me and told me, "You've only got one semester, and if you failed in a single class, I am immediately transferring you into a different college. And by different college, it's a different major like literature or history, and which I absolutely hate." And bless her heart, I know she meant well, but her words just put a lot of weight on my shoulders to strive for perfection for the next 4 years. Freshman year was absolute hell. The first shock that I received that everything was in English, the studying material, the textbook, the exams, everything was in English. And I have been taught science in Arabic. I didn't even know what a cell means. So what I would do is I spend every day from 6 a.m. till bedtime in front of Google Translate and a small science dictionary that I bought, just translating scientific terms. And it was like a baby learning to read for the first time. And I was just translating, let alone understanding complex scientific ideas. I end my freshman year and I was the first in my class, but I was absolutely miserable. My mom was not alarmed at all. She thought like, hey, you're getting good grades. Everything should be good, right? I was anything but good. I pushed my friends away. I wanted to be alone. I was an unbearable person to be around. And every single day, I would think of the different ways that I can kill myself with. I take the subway every day to campus, and every day I would tell myself, just do it. Don't be a coward. Just push yourself in front of the train in your life. But I feel like there is no way out, and the only way to get out of that nightmare is just to honor the promise that I did for my mom, and that will be it. And I thought it is going to get better. I'm going to take advanced courses in science and find my passion in science, and all would be good, right? But it didn't get good. I remember in my senior year, one of the professors asked the class, like, hey, you've seniors, you've made it so far. Does anyone regret getting into this field? And I immediately raised my hand. I wasn't the only one, but all of the class like looked at me like, what is her deal? She gets straight A's. Like, well, she's ungrateful. But it wasn't like that. They had something that I didn't. They had genuine passion about science, and I felt nothing. I feel like an imposter among them, and I absolutely don't belong to science. It was also in my senior year when a course is being offered called Evolutionary Genetics. And I got immediately intrigued because I know in Egypt, evolution is a sensitive topic to talk to people about, let alone to teach. And Egypt is a Muslim country, and most of people believe in creationism, or that God created every organism in the shape and form they are in right now. And if you even mention the name Darwin, people get really agitated and will call you atheist, and the conversation will get really bad so fast. So I was intrigued to see how this is going to go. So I just signed up for the class with the women. Let's go and see what's going to happen. On the first day of the class, I pulled myself out of the bed, got dressed, and went to campus, and I grabbed myself a cup of coffee that I really needed to keep my eyes open. I entered the lecture hall, and I sat in one of the desks, and I just put my head on the desk to fight sleeping for the next 2 hours, as I always do. The professor entered the lecture hall, and he casually sat on one of the desks. He didn't even introduce himself. He just looked at us and said, "What is your definition of natural selection?" I remember that I sat straight up, and I was immediately hooked. And I don't know why. Maybe something about how direct his question is, or maybe because he was just initiating discussion, not shoving information down our throat. I was interested. He kept asking more questions like, why do we have so many species? And how would a bacteria evolve antibiotic resistant? And why or how would a harmless moth mimic a wasp to evade predators? How would it evolve to do that? I was wide awake, and it was not because of the caffeine in my coffee. It was because of him. I had so many questions, especially about that weird moth. And I started to bombard him with my own questions. I was like, what is happening here? How would it know which genes to turn on and off? And is it a change in the DNA sequence or epigenetic modification? Is it a local adaptation or just like heritable trait? What is happening? And I kept asking so many questions to the point that he's sitting and nods, well, I don't know, Hagar, go figure it out yourself. At the end of the semester, he came up with the idea of doing a flash debate. So we were divided randomly into groups, and every 2 teams will debate one another or on a randomly assigned topic. My team got assigned to defend Darwinian's ideas about natural selection. I was on cloud 9, unlike everyone else. Everyone else thought that Darwin was a heretic, and if you believe in evolution, you're an atheist. I didn't care anyway. I just went home and started reading. And for the first time since whatever, I don't even remember, I caught myself reading for 2 hours without even getting distracted. I thought to myself, is this how it feels to read and study something that you actually like? It was weird. On the day of the debate, my team and I entered the classroom, and a lot of people in the classroom looked at us and called us the atheist team. And they were just joking, and they didn't mean any harm. And I honestly didn't feel mad or offended or anything. I was just so motivated to prove all of them wrong. We started the debate, and my team did an absolutely wonderful job of coming up with evidence. And the last nail in the coffin of the other team argument was Darwin Finch's. After the debate was over, the professor asked all of the class, which team did better job in convincing you of their arguments? All of the class clapped for a whole minute, and all of them raised their hands to vote for our team. And we got extra credit for that. I entered the class, I exited the class room, and I had the biggest smile on my face. And I didn't even care about that extra credit. For the first time since freshman year and since in my entire life, I viewed science as a passion. It wasn't an obligation or something that I do to please my parents. And for the first time in my entire life, I felt that I belonged to science. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hugger.
It's my pleasure.
I'm so glad that you found the path you did that brought you to us, because selfishly, I'm so glad that we could hear your story. And I also doubt that your professor randomly put you on the pro evolution team. He knew.
I also like how you just totally stumped him. I mean, the reason he was deflecting your questions was because he didn't have the answers.
Maybe. Yes.
The best students cause their own teachers to learn.
Aw.
That sounds like something someone smart would say, right? Let's go with that.
Whoa, man. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us, Hugger. And for any of you in the audience, if you have questions for Hugger, please drop them in our question box. Or for any of our other tellers, I do want to remind you that like normal conference rules do not apply. You don't have to ask something full of jargon and be like, oh, well, you know, the error bar on figure 2, it was just a little kid. None of that. Ask something funny. Ask what Hugger's favorite type of taco is. Ask Manu if she would like to go get coffee with you sometime.
Don't ask her out in the questions. Don't do that.
Hey, well, it can be like
this. Married woman?
Oh my God. You sexualize everything.
Heather, this was a delight. We will see you at the Q&A at the end of the show. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. So we have one story left for you all. But before we get there, I want to just dip out of host mode for a second and gush a little bit about this conference. It's amazing to see this put together entirely virtually. I was also at the 2019 conference, and it's a joy to be back hosting all of this, hosting this with all of you. So it's an honor to be here. Before we get to our last story, let's read a couple more of the stories from the audience. Emma, you want to take the first one?
Yes, it would be my honor. All right, let's see. Let me queue them up here. Let's see. I forgot kangaroos existed during my qualifying orals. Professor intervened.
I like how it was important enough that like someone on the committee had to like correct the situation.
Yeah, this is Tyler. Tyler, if you could in the chat tell us why kangaroos happen to be so important. I think inquiring minds want to know.
We have another one from Rosanna, which I think is more than 10 words, but I'm cool with it. The time I decided it was a good idea to ride a fixie bike that belonged to my husband, who is 6 feet tall, I'm 5'3", and ended up in the hospital with a broken foot, #maladaptive.
It's a great hashtag.
Look, you survived it. I feel like natural selection didn't get you that time, but I see where you're coming from. All right. One more reminder to drop some questions in that question box. You get a cookie if you do it, and you don't get a cookie. Look, if you open another browser window, there's like a really good chance you're going to get a cookie. Don't put words in my mouth.
That's a very good point. And as a reminder, you can subscribe to our podcast. Again, that's at storycollider.org/podcasts. So you can hear more delightful, funny, kooky, and heartbreaking stories there.
Tragically, Emma and I won't intersperse all of them with our delightful banter, but hopefully
my cell phone in the chat, and you can just call me, and I can say things to you in between your podcasts, everyone. So
highly recommend. I do this often. All right. Our final storyteller is a father, a husband, an evolutionary ecologist originally from Warwick, Rhode Island. He's an avid hiker when possible and metal music enthusiast, even when alienating. He's also currently a postdoc at the University of Maryland, College Park, working with Dr. Eric Haig on sperm competition in nematodes, which is just an incredibly cool topic. Please welcome to our virtual stage, Justin Van Goor. Hello.
Hi.
How are you feeling, Justin?
Let's not go there.
Honesty.
I felt better.
All right, let's get you going. I'm very, very good for this. Take it away.
All right, let's get it over with. I met TJ when I was 18. I'm not sure exactly when we met, but it was probably standing outside some random party in Western Massachusetts. TJ was 9 years older than me and was bald and bearded, but what I remember most was his necklace choice, an upside-down cross. Not a crucifix per se, just kind of Jesus hanging upside down. This sort of blasphemic and sardonic sense of humor appealed to me greatly, and I knew that we would get along well. Before this, I never had a friend that I could talk about black metal with before. This became the backbone of our friendship, and we would bond over it for years. We'd chat for hours about the news and minutiae of this niche corner of the metal universe, and he'd usually talk shit too. Where TJ was a musician, my role in the metal world was strictly that of a fan. I've come to tell people that the only instrument that I know how to play is the microscope. Though we largely agreed on black metal music, he hated my love for the folkier styles that incorporated flutes and shit, as he would say. He could have strange opinions, though. For instance, he adored Lady Gaga because he believed that she was a closeted Satanist and therefore worth his time. Neither one of us took our interest in music too seriously, though, and I think that's why we got along so well. We love that metal is its own biggest parody. TJ was always into drinking and partying, maybe more so than many others that I had known. But I guess I chalked this up to the college lifestyle, and I didn't think too deeply about it. After 5 years of hanging out and listening to music, TJ moved to Boston, like nearly everyone else I knew, and I moved west to Iowa for grad school. In the year between getting my bachelor's and going to grad school, I worked a number of gritty food service jobs, so I was pretty excited at the prospect of doing something else with my time. It was a pretty big change. Between getting adjusted to my new research program, teaching, doing field work, meeting new friends, including my girlfriend, I quickly became engrossed in my work and very busy. From this point on, my relationship with TJ continued over the phone. He'd call me about once a week, but things were largely the same for him, partying and thinking about music. He even called me quite regularly when I was doing field work in Mexico. I remember being in El Sargento, Baja California Sur, where we rented a field house, having to sit on my neighbor's roof, who had Wi-Fi, in the middle of the 110-degree Mexican summer heat, feeling mega annoyed to have to talk to TJ about black metal, burning alive in the sun. Sometimes I'd rather be doing almost anything else, unfortunately. I was also distracted mentally quite frequently at this time. My dad, who struggled with alcoholism for my entire life, was in steady decline. Now, I could tell you about dozens of my favorite black metal albums like an encyclopedia, but I had no idea what cirrhosis was, or that such a diagnosis was essentially a death sentence for someone like him, unemployed and uninsured. After I returned from my first field season in 2013, he ultimately lost his battle. I buried my head in my work. I tried to stay busy, but it was the dumb kind of busy, the kind where you're doing a lot but not getting a lot done. Basically doing anything that I could to avoid thinking about him. I don't recommend coping in this way. Eventually, the phone calls with TJ became more infrequent, down to about once a month to once every other month. My life kept moving forward. When I invited TJ to my wedding in 2015, he said he couldn't make it, but he offered us his satanic blessings, which is another gift that we received that we didn't put on the registry. During this time, TJ's drinking started to go downhill. He got kicked out of a shared apartment with friends and eventually started living in group homes and rehab facilities, mostly unsuccessfully. At a certain point, the phone call stopped altogether. 5 years passed. It was 2020, and I was a postdoc in Maryland. I was married, and I had a son. One Friday evening, I got a voicemail from TJ. He said that he was going through one of his notebooks with all of his contacts and wanted to see what I was up to. I called him back, and he picked up immediately. Before I knew it, we were back to talking about the same old shit, like no time had passed at all. He'd been through hell, for sure, but he tried not to spend a lot of time on this. He was suffering from various health problems. For example, he told me that the last time he was hospitalized, he was put in a room with someone in the midst of a very intense mental health crisis. He said that he couldn't get any sleep and was getting jaundiced as a result. I tried to explain to him that I don't think that that's how these things work, but it didn't get very far. Importantly, while we were on the phone, it was as if all of his problems were gone, and I could quickly come to the realization that he really just wanted someone to talk to, somehow to feel normal again. On my end, I was really excited to talk to him. It had been a long time, and I had heard such horrible things from my friends. It was relieving to hear him in relatively good spirits. We talked a few times after this, always for a long time, usually at night, and sometimes up until my phone died. He called me a number of times after this, but I couldn't pick up. Being a postdoc and a father and a husband really drags the time out of you. So I couldn't pick up the phone for him, which bothered me, of course, but I always told him, or I always told myself, that I would call him back. A few more months passed. On April 11th, I got a phone call from my friend Hunter. I remember the date because it was the day I was scheduled to get my first Pfizer vaccine at the mega FEMA site that was located up the road from my apartment. I had known Hunter for many years. I lived with him and I worked with him. He was even the officiant for my wedding. His standard emotion was sarcastic apathy. Strangely, though, I could tell from Hunter's voice that he had been crying. I went on to the balcony and he told me that TJ had died. They found him alone in his apartment. The doctors had told him that he would die if he didn't stop drinking, and he didn't, so now he was dead. I wasn't necessarily surprised, but I felt numb and leaned up against the railing of my balcony, watching the wind blow through the trees. The 13th would have been his 41st birthday. I was pretty short with Hunter on the phone. I didn't really know what to say to him. I had to leave anyway for my vaccine appointment. Talk about a surreal experience. I just learned that my friend who I knew was suffering had died, and now I had to report to the FEMA Center straight out of a zombie apocalypse film to be stabbed in the arm by a National Guardsman. After I got the shot, I was led into the giant, sterile white waiting room where rows and rows of people sat in chairs on their phones as they waited their 15 minutes to make sure they hadn't gotten any negative side effects from the shot. I decided I'd use my 15 minutes to climb into my own head and try to sort out my feelings. Of course, I sat there and I thought about TJ. But then also, of course, my brain turned to my dad. How could I have not seen the parallels? After watching my dad wither away and die, surely I should have known what was happening to TJ. How could I have been so fucking blind? I think my brain just censored the reality of the situation. Like a scared child, I covered the blanket over my face, shielding me from the truth that sat right in front of me. I buried my head in my own life and my work instead of being there for TJ, even though I knew that he needed help. I wonder what could have happened had I done things differently. If I could have just forced myself to have some very uncomfortable conversations, would he still be alive? I frustrate myself with this egotistical notion, thinking that I could have possibly had the power to change anything. Was it even my responsibility? Could I have changed things even if I tried to? Without retreating into the comfortable platitude that they needed to want to change, I acknowledge that I could have done more to help these people. I wish I had picked up the phone more often for TJ. I wish I had gone to see him. I wish I had a better relationship with my dad, especially towards the end. This is my Sisyphean weight. I'll struggle with this endlessly without the possibility for absolution. I can never know how much I hurt these people, and I can never know how much I could have helped them. Now I see these people sometimes in my dreams. When my brain is feeling particularly cruel, I'm forced to watch them die all over again. I wake up feeling confused, maybe thinking that their deaths were the bad dream, until the reality starts to settle in again. I had one of these dreams just last week. Aside from sadness and regret, I also feel another familiar emotion, anger. I'm mad that my children will never get to meet my dad. Instead, they'll get to bring flowers to a stone slab in South Dakota. I'm mad that I live in a society in which people with mental health and substance abuse problems are treated so horribly. TJ and my dad were not bad people, they were damaged people. This world can be so full of darkness and ugliness, but these people brought me color, texture, and beauty, and it fucking sucks that they're gone. When I got home from the vaccine appointment, I decided to go for a walk around my neighborhood with some music. I was listening to the shoegaze band Nothing's album, Tired of Tomorrow, and I only made it to the second song, which is ironically titled The Dead Are Dumb, before I had a bit of an epiphany. The fuck was I doing? TJ would make fun of me so fucking hard if he knew that I was walking around listening to sad music, shoegaze of all things, and feeling sad about him. He would make fun of me if he knew I was talking with all of you. While he wasn't your stereotypical metalhead, he did find people getting sad over small things hilarious. This is a dude that told his friends years ago that when he died, he wanted them to sprinkle his ashes into a blunt and smoke him. I think for TJ, life needed to be about more than sadness. I think he would agree that negativity is part of life, but one shouldn't dwell on this negativity other than to learn the lessons needed to move on and become a better version of yourself. In this way, I think TJ has helped me, and I wish I could repay him. But instead, I decided to change the music and kept walking. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us and trusting your story with us, Justin.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you so much. It is always incredibly difficult to share a story like that, and I am just so grateful that you brought this to us and you decided to share it with everyone here. It's an honor to help you do that. We will let you go back to the audience.
See you later.
But gosh, that was our final story. And hopefully if we did our job, we just accomplished something of an emotional arc throughout this throughout this entire show.
Bit of a roller coaster, to be sure.
We still have the Q&A portion of our show, so if you have questions, please drop them in there. And you can always add them on the fly, but really anything is fair game. Just remember that, this is a space for everyone where people should all feel comfortable talking about whatever. We will be moderating the Q&A, so if anything comes up that we'd rather not discuss, we will just move away from it. But please ask any and everything, and our storytellers will be eager to answer. One more reminder about other ways to sort of engage with Story Collider even after this show is done. We have plenty of other shows that are coming up that are sort of this live/virtual format. There are stories on our podcast that drop every week, but for live shows like this one, go visit our website and you will find a large list there of upcoming shows.
Excuse me. Just really
You're
got
not excused.
into the moment there. So I just want to, and both of us want to extend our thanks again to our 4 amazing storytellers from this evening, Linda, Manu, Hugger, and Justin. We also want to thank our tech wizard, Emma Yarbrough, who's in the background making everything work. Couldn't do anything without her. And we also want to thank the organizers, Nancy Chen, Kathy Rushworth, and Gina Baucom, and of course, ASN, SSE, and SSB, and all of you for being here with us tonight. It takes a lot of people in a community to have a great storytelling show, so we're really grateful that you guys have welcomed us into your community this evening. So with that, I'm going to go lurk in the audience and see if I can convince people to submit some questions to the chat, and we will bring our tellers back up for a little bit of Q&A.
You're stuck with me for a little while longer, but our storytellers are going to come back up in a second and purge me of this awkwardness of being like the giant face on your screen. But while I'm here, I can say really strange, awkward things. Hi, Linda. Welcome back.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I had to. Those are. Yeah, all those stories. I've heard them before, but every time I hear them, my heart just breaks. And that's my husband in the background.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask, hello. It's cool to meet a character in Linda's story. It always like blows my mind when I meet someone who I've met through a story, because I like pictured them a certain way, but welcome, hello. Also, it's interesting to see how much the light has changed in everyone's room except for yours, Linda, because you're in Pacific time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the forest fires, we finally opened the windows back up and the smoke is still. So my crying during, especially Justin's story, well, actually all of them was because of the forest fire smoke.
Oh yeah. My eyes just like do weird stuff all the time during stories. I chalk it up to like my eyes sweat sometimes. I don't know what they're doing. There's just like salty stuff coming out of them. I can't deal. All right. Well, we've got some questions in here already. Let's get started. And some have been already upvoted. I like this one to start. Justin, for the uninitiated, what black metal song should we listen to first if people are just entering the genre? Is this even like the right subgenre of metal to start with, or should people start like gentler?
I mean, it's up to you. Go big or go home, I think. I don't know. That's a great, I mean, if you really want to dive right in, anything from the Norwegian band Dark Throne from 1990 to 1995 would probably be a good launching point.
Did you have a gateway metal song?
Offhand, no. I've been cultivating this dumb personality trait of mine for a long time, so I can't even I think that my first true gateway black metal band was probably Emperor, which is another Norwegian band.
Love it. Has your son started his metal trajectory yet?
He doesn't like it. I'm proud to say that when we brought him home from the hospital, I demanded to play As Embers Dress the Sky by Agalloch, which is one of my favorite songs, period. So the first song he heard was a black metal song, so I'm happy about that.
Is still in the Baby Shark phase like mine, Nikki?
Oh, he's in every kind of phase, yeah.
Oh
yeah. We've done the Baby Shark thing, yeah, for sure.
Like, I should put this in my story, like be inside of the house, like working when your baby is in the Baby Shark phase, like that is extra stress. Yeah.
I'm very afraid of the Baby Shark song. It's too much. It's the worst is maybe the wrong word, but it's the most powerful earworm I've ever come across in my entire life.
Grandma Shark.
Oh no.
They change. I need to say there is like the new version for Halloween, then the new version for like Nikki, like all of them. But like at some point, Marcella and I, we start to sing that.
Love it.
Yeah, we usually have a good like taste for song.
I think that for anyone, the next time you hear the Baby Shark song, just play some black metal, and then that should knock it right out. Hagar, question for you. What are you studying now in grad school, and how much of it kind of calls back to that fateful first class?
After taking this class, I decided I'm not going to study anything but evolution. So since studying evolution in Egypt is a little bit difficult because almost nobody studies evolution in Egypt, so I applied to Fulbright scholarship to get to the USA and do my master's here. So I'm currently a graduate student at Binghamton University studying speciation in Mimulus. If anyone here work with Mimulus planes, so yeah.
Very cool color patterning math stuff. That's all I got. I love it. Keeping this like academic background trend going, Linda, will you tell us a little bit about your path to grad school? You have so many former jobs. People are very excited to hear about your past lives.
My first bachelor's degree was in international relations. I got my commission in the Navy, and then I started doing computers in the Navy. Now, I got to tell you, the computers I first worked on were taller than me and wider than me, substantially wider and deep. Yeah, and were 56K. Woohoo! Oh my God. Computer was in. But anyway, yeah, I got to do some cool things. Greenland, Iceland, coordinated some large-scale exercises. I got really tired of people saying, I've never had to work for a woman before. And I'd say, oh, you didn't have a mom?
That is the only correct answer to that.
Yeah, it's like, come on. Anyway, so I decided to pursue the computer science thing. I got a master's in computer science at BU, did software engineering, got recalled for the Navy. And then I decided, I need to do something fun because I was retired then. I'm retired now. I'm just tired. No. And I thought, what have I always wanted to do? And my husband says, well, every time we go somewhere, and Arizona's got a lot of beautiful rocks, you're always looking for fossils. I said, I am? Yes. Okay. Yeah, right. So I went back, got a bachelor's in geology, paleontology emphasis, and biology, because I figured you have to know biology to do paleontology. Then I got a master's, and I said, well, go for it, girl. You're almost there. Let's get 3 little letters, and then, I don't know. My grandmother only made it to 8th grade. I was told she was too uppity. She needed to get out of school. So, I just want to, if your brain still works, you got to still use it. So I'm studying evolutionary biology because it's the closest thing I can get to paleontology. And I'm doing paleontology projects and stuff all over the place. But I just you don't have to always go to the big name school. You just have to find really good people to work with. Just like, was it Carrie? Corey, yeah. Yeah, it's who you work with more than the name of the school, in my opinion. But I'm just an old fart. What do I?
No, words from the wise, I think. I'm going to slightly riff on a question that we have for you here. What are some of the things you miss most from Brazil? And please mention some food in your answer.
So people always ask that question for me, but like being Brazilian, I can cook. So I'm cooking Brazilian food here every day. But I probably, like Corey, you say that feijoada, she's very fan when I cook feijoada because there is a rich, like things with meat, or I can do like vegan version as well. And like after we eat, we have a relaxing time because like it's too heavy, but it's very flavored. Now I think maybe I'm totally biased to say, but what I miss in Brazil definitely is not the weather because I love snow. And but what I miss in Brazil,
You love snow?
I love snow. I have my I'm done with summer. Like I had summer my entire life. I don't need summer. So yeah. And like, but what I miss in Brazil now, and totally biased because pandemic, it is my family.
Yeah.
Like my mom didn't see Nikki for the last 2 years, and it's just 3, so 2 years without seeing the only granddaughter. And I'm definitely like in the normal before, like without pandemic, we'll try to see each other like twice a year. They come visit it, and then we can go there. So this is what I miss the most. There are great ants there too, I can say.
Oh yeah. What is an insect species that is found somewhere? Yeah. Are there any insect species that are endemic only to Brazil that are noteworthy here?
There is some. Yeah.
Ants, right? You're going to tell us about ants, right?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
Oh yeah, I have my favorite ants. It's called Camponotus textor. It's hard. Like I love all of them, and especially when I'm studying them because I always like learning new things and finding new papers. But like I need to put like a standard to answer that because people always make me the question. So this is the first ant that I start to study, like when I start to work with ants. So that's why she's the first. In Brazil, ants, it's formiga. Formiga, it's she. So I'm always doing that here when speaking English. But it turned out that Camponotus textor is probably a she because in the colony there's more females than males. So, but these ants actually they are weaver ants, so they can use the larvae saliva from larvae to produce silk. So it is the only one that we know so far for the entire America continent that is able to do that. So
Wow.
yeah.
Cool. Incredibly cool.
Yeah.
If you have a link to something about those ants,
Yeah,
I drop it in the chat.
I can put my first paper in it. So.
I
It would be
see.
too nerdy.
We had an agenda. Okay. All right. Our top question, I can no longer ignore it. Justin, what black metal song best describes the fig/fig wasp mutualism?
I saw the question, and hi Tracy. Yeah, I don't know, man. I was pulled aside actually at a evolution meeting before. Like I gave a talk, and it was a grad student from Utah, I believe, and he told me that there's actually a song that's called "Big Fig Wasp" by the band King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. It's not a black metal band, but there is a song about fig wasps that exists. In terms of, I don't know, after getting a PhD studying fig wasps and their nematodes, I would not say that they are a very black metal-y group. I'd say they're more like a thrashy group because they do a lot of like kind of silly things sometimes. So I would divert away from black metal and towards thrash. I don't know. I can't come up with a good recommendation.
I feel like that was still a fruitful discussion. Notice my weak pun with the word fruitful. Let's see. Moving on. Hugger, this is a great question from Susanna. Have you found that evolutionary biologists treat those with religious backgrounds respectfully? Do you have any advice for us to do better? If the answer is no.
That's such a great question because when I came here, I was a little bit scared because obviously I wear scarf, I wear hijab, so I'm pretty clear that I'm Muslim right away. So I was scared that I'm gonna be targeted in my department and everyone will like say some mean comments or how would you be Muslim and study evolution at the same time. But honestly, I have been here for 2 semesters and everyone has been really accepting. I don't even remember that anyone initiated a conversation about religion or how are you doing that. They have been really accepting and really welcoming, and so far I'm enjoying my time in here. So I think the community in evolution is pretty accepting right now to everyone, honestly, not even in terms of religion. So I'm pretty happy.
That is always really good to hear. Here's my cat. Linda, do you have a favorite fossil that you have come across? And maybe I'll make this a dual question. What's your dream fossil that you would want to find that you haven't yet?
Well, you got me on the dream fossil. I already know the answer to that. The other one's really tough. Because when I helped on that dig of that giant Glyptodon, no kidding, it's the size of a Volkswagen, and it was fascinating. But I'd say the most fascinating fossil for me actually was at the Chicago Field Museum. I got to see this large rock, and it had three things on it. It had one of the earliest plants. It had part of the beautiful golden brown scallop-shaped skin tissue of an arthropod called a Eurypterid, giant sea scorpion, bigger than me with big claws. They're in museums all over the place. And there was a fish. There was, I couldn't quite, I haven't quite diagnosed what it is, but anyway, and it was all on one slab, all at the same level. And in paleontology, when you see a community on a slab like that, that's just incredible. So maybe it doesn't sound very glamorous, but man, I was excited. And then the other one was a dream fossil. My dream fossil would be to find Anatolepus. Okay, what's that? Late Cambrian, there are a bunch of scales that are found. And there's this huge argument between Derek Briggs at Yale and people in the UK saying, it's a fish. No. It's an arthropod. No. It's a fish. No. I want to go find a whole one. All they have is little pieces of scale. And I think they're both right. I think they're looking at different fossils, but that's just Lassiter's interpretation.
I love it.
Anatolepus. I'll type it in the thing. Oh, but I can't do italics, so just forgive me.
I have a question for everyone. Because I'm rereading the Harry Potter series for some reason and not getting any sleep because of it. What would your Patronus be? And please tell me if I need to provide some context here for anyone who is uninitiated.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, you don't know what Patronus is? I'm an old fart and I know what that is.
So in the Harry Potter universe, there are these, I guess the easiest way to say is there are monsters called Dementors that kind of suck the happiness out of the atmosphere and individual people. And the only way to fight them is to produce something from your wand called a Patronus that takes the shape of an animal that often embodies your personality.
I know mine.
Oh.
Yeah, I have a guess for you. For some reason, something is really tipping me off.
All right. I'll let others go first. I don't know.
My Patronus is a Tyrannosaurus Rex, so there, I'm done. Okay.
That is a really good Patronus.
Isn't it?
I feel like it's got to be really hard to have a Patronus that's like, I don't know, a sea sponge. Like, what is that even going to do? I don't
know if you watch
Regenerated. I want to be an ant queen.
I like that because now you've got like the biggest and most powerful ant.
And fly.
Yep.
And I probably should not say that, but ant queens, depending of the species, can mate with 8 male.
It's usually not the priority of a Patronus, but I highly respect that.
That's true.
All right, let's do a couple more questions here. Manu, I think have you already taken care of this recipe?
There's several one. I'm looking. I remember that I started to search for that a few years ago, and I never find a good one. Now there's so many. So people start to cook it during the pandemic time. So I need to choose like one of them, and I will put the feijoada vegan recipe in the chat.
All right, I've got another question for the group. What is your most controversial opinion about something involving evolution?
I have one, but a lot of people will hate me in the room. Yeah, but I'm gonna go.
I promise I won't hate you.
I won't hate you.
I'm a kind of a graduate student who doesn't like genetic drift, and it's such a
What do you mean you don't like it?
I don't like it. I don't like to discuss genetic drift. And whenever we're in class or in discussion, and any of the professors ask me a question, and I give a perfect answer, and then, but you forgot about genetic drift contributing to the speciation process. So the concept just annoys me. I'm sorry, everyone.
Okay, but like you acknowledge it's real. You just don't like to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Fair enough. Anyone else? It can be like real simple. It can be like fish are better than birds. I don't necessarily believe that. I just know.
I'll go in general and say that vertebrates are uninteresting.
Okay.
We are quickly going to be ruled over by the invertebrates, and in particular nematodes. And I, for one, and I'm going to be on the right side of history and align with our nematode overlords before it's too late.
Are they going to accept you, or like, are you going to have to remove your spine before you like?
No, they'll probably parasitize me and then leave me for dead.
All right, fair enough.
They're going to win. The time of the vertebrates is over.
There's never been a time of vertebrates. It's always been the time of invertebrates. They've always outnumbered.
It's already
so our collective intelligence has allowed us to believe that we're more important than we are, but our time is short.
I got one thing to share about. I was raised in a Southern Baptist church. I wasn't allowed to wear lipstick until I was 15, which was breaking the rules. And so I had a lot of trouble with science for quite a while. And I just kept it to myself. But then I finally really, really, really read the Bible. And now when I talk to people that I know that are Christians, and they say the earth is only 6,000 years old plus 7 days. And I laugh at them. I said, I'm sorry you haven't read your Bible. Because 6,000 years is only the lineage between the first person that was infused with the Spirit of God to Jesus Christ. That's all the 6,000 years is, folks. And an infinite God is never in a hurry. I've had so many people just look at me with shock and, what do you study? Dead things. They're 350 million years old. And it's not that they judge me harshly because I challenged them, but they go and look it up, and it's just kind of like, the data's right there. Go read it.
I also just really like that answer because, like, who among us has not studied a dead thing at some point? All right. Last call for questions. I'll pick a couple more of the ones in here, or if you want to just jump in here and vote for the ones that you want to see asked, I will attempt to respond in real time. I do like this one. Hagar, do you have a favorite example that demonstrates adaptation?
Oh, there is tons of absolutely amazing examples of adaptation. But off the top of my head, I like phenotypic plasticity. Like one of the tadpoles, when it's gonna be eaten by a salamander, I think it enhances its size so the salamander can't eat it. So, but without a salamander, they are teeny tiny tadpoles. So I like the concept of really plastic traits and the fight and the debate between like, hey, phenotypic plasticity contribute to speciation, and people like, no, it's not. So this kind of a fight is also exciting.
Love it. And Linda,
Dinosaur. Go, everybody. Name your favorite dinosaur. Come on, Katie.
God, no pressure. Oh my gosh, no, I wasn't ready.
I was
need to-
not ready for that.
Good. Name anyone.
I'm gonna go with Psittacosaurus because they recently 3D scanned its cloaca.
3D scans are pretty cool.
I'm really into cloacae, so if anybody wants to talk cloaca stuff with me, I'm here. Call me.
Say that we in Jurassic Park that spit the acid in that jerk's face.
Oh yeah. I get.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I have to ask my grandchildren.
So for me, it is T-Rex, but T-Rex in specific is Sue, that is from Field Museum in Chicago. So I had an opportunity to work there when Corey was there too. And like, I was so impressed, like walking every day in my work and see a T-Rex, and the biggest one T-Rex found so far. I'm so in love by Sue. And I have a big poster of Sue in Nikki's room.
Sue also has an excellent social media presence. If you don't already,
Yes, I follow Sue on Twitter. Yeah, that's true.
I'm loving all the bird answers in the chat to what's the best dinosaur, because like,
So
Emma, I do love orifices. Orifices are fantastic.
So
Mine's Brontosaurus. The real Brontosaurus. It's supposed to be Brachiosaurus, but I know the people that argue over who had the name first, and the guy who originally called it Brontosaurus went back out in the field to find the skull so he could say, "This is Brontosaurus, not Brachiosaurus." I just love those arguments. If you go to a paleontology meeting, it's great. We're weird. Okay.
I love it. I'll end on a somewhat more serious question, and hopefully I'm interpreting this right. The job of scientist is difficult because it requires spending a lot of alone time with the brain. That can be really tough when people are dealing with trauma, stress, and life in general. And several of your stories touched on this. How do you cope, and how do you move past trauma? How does it affect your work?
I love this question because when I first traveled here, I traveled in the middle of the pandemic, so I couldn't see anyone. And I have anxiety, and I have also illness anxiety because of the pandemic and because of everything. And I was coping with grad school, and I was having homesickness. So it was like a big mixture of everything that is so stressful, and I was locked down in my apartment. So I think like two important things that really helped me was therapy and making friends, and having a good support system like really, really helped me through.
Linda, is the cat part of your answer potentially? Because it
is my answer. I had a lot of trauma. I won't go into it, but although I will share that I just lost my brother to addiction, and because of COVID, I didn't get to go say goodbye, but I had to authorize pulling the plug on his life. And my mother also died. I did get to go see her. But yeah, I've also had trauma, Me Too kind of trauma, in the military and stuff. And this is the best thing, a purring cat. I've got dogs too, so don't feel left out if you don't like cats. It's okay. Find something to love that loves you back unconditionally. That's the best thing to do. Even if it's a frog or a penguin or a wasp.
Yeah. I think I can also jump here. So for me, what is work, at least working so far, it is try to remind myself that I need to take care of me first to be able to take care of everyone else. Was that particularly hard doing this during the pandemic? And sometimes seems very selfish say that things, but like it's really true that we need to take care of ourselves, otherwise we are not able to offer anything else. And so for doing that, for me, like it is pretty like I was able to try to connect myself for things that I wanted to do and I didn't have time. So I started to do more yoga when I have some time. I tried to do Zumba to try to keep my like balance in like body and healthy. And like I keep choosing next things because I was not able to like just following one recipe to succeed. I learned so many different cooks. So I always try to push myself to find something that brings me happy. But it's hard. And for me, I'm very communicated, even that I'm speaking broken English here, like in Portuguese, believe me, I'm very good at it. And so I need to help them a lot, have people around where I can just speak about everything, like even like complain about like strugglings, or like sometimes my kid's still doing that, like this is so good to have like a safe place where you can talk without people judging you. So that's really helpful, like even like by WhatsApp or any other app that we are using to connect with people.
I'll say what's been useful for me for a long time has been just music and exercise, particularly hiking if I can do it. So like I've been fortunate enough for the last, close to 9 years now, lived close enough to the places that I'm working that I can walk, right? So like I have a 35-minute walk to and from work, and I use that time to like listen to music and get into my own head. And that's super helpful. It's also where I wrote most of this talk that I gave today, was on those walks to and from work. So stuff really helps a lot for sure.
Yeah. Thank you all for sharing that. And I think we probably will end on that question, but I mean, it's such a wonderful question to end on. I think, even for people who are listening to a show like this, the sense of community, this really, really, really comes through. The reason that I joined Story Collider and have stuck with it all these years is because I get to hear stories like these, and I'm just so honored that you all came here to make this show possible. I think anything to make people feel like there's connection in every aspect of life, even something like science, which isn't always billed as the most inviting discipline. So wonderful to have you all here. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone in the audience who came and who stuck around. Great.
Someone said my cat has black metal paint there, Justin. It was a pleasure to meet everybody.
So before we finish, can we like clap for the Story Collider, like for Emma and Katie?
Where's Emma and Emma?
For the other Emma, who also in the back, behind the scenes, like making everything happen. Like, thank you everyone who also here today to be so nice with us, to be willing to listen and like be nice. So thank you so much. I'm biggest fan. I'm super fan, and now I'm even more. Like, you are so amazing. Thank you so much for everything.
No, thank you. I'm not going to let you end with that. My last round of applause is for the four of you. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone.